It was in Atlantis things started going extremely wrong with the Syrian experiment. To understand what really happened, we need to understand the legend of Atlantis and what really occurred there. There is a lot of karma involved when it comes to the Atlantean era, and this is why people still aren't able to let go of that time period. The new Atlantis has been planned for a long time, and in recorded history we know that those plans and dreams were common in the work of such prominent people as Sir Francis Bacon, who was a high initiate in the Rosicrucian Order. Freemasonry in general have promoted these plans as well, and Atlantean symbolism is found everywhere in this particular secret society. The founding fathers of the United States were those who were chosen to implement this dream in America, and many of them were either Freemasons, or in other ways closely connected to them. In many ways history is repeating itself now as we are approaching the end of 2012 and beyond, so that our karma can be played out and hopefully resolved. However, it's up to us if it will, or if we are going to build up additional negative energies. If we let history repeat itself because of ignorance, we're going to end up with a new catastrophe, this time even bigger than the last one, because now our very souls are at stake, literally so. We think that nuclear power and weapons of mass destruction is something new, but remnants of ancient nuclear wars can be found in many places around the world, even in Scotland. The British Islands were the northeastern part of Atlantis, which remained above sea level after the deluge. Why are so many abductions being reported? What is it in our DNA that they want? Did the genetic upgrade of mankind ever stop, or is it still going on in places like Area 51 and off-planet? These are all important questions which we shall discuss over the duration of these remaining papers of the second level of learning. And Atlantis is the key. It's important to realize that just like with the Lemurian civilization, Atlantis wasn't restricted to a continent in the Atlantic Ocean, but was more of an era than a location. To me, Atlantis was the part of the population which eventually chose technology before spirituality and nature, while Mu was the opposite. The similarities between Atlantis and Mu and today's world are sometimes stunning. We have to make the same decisions today as people did back then, but hopefully this time we stand a better chance to maintain and build on the positive energies many of us have worked hard on building up within ourselves. This time we have a few advantages we didn't have then. One of them is the numbers, 7 billion people, and the other the intense gamma rays bombardment from the sun and the galactic center. The deluge happened approximately half of a full year ago, 13,500 years ago, and now we are completing a full year, a full circle around the zodiac. Although the energies were strong at the Atlantean time as well, they are much stronger now. This doesn't prevent those who want to destroy us to do so if we let them, so again, it's up to us. Atlantis and the Orion heritage. There is a lot of confusion over whom was in charge in Atlantis. Some say it was the Syrians, the Pleiadians say the karma they are working on when being in touch with us humans in present time originates from Atlantis, and others say Orion ruled in Atlantis. So, who is correct? As strange as it may sound, it was all of the above. The island of Atlantis had been sparsely populated already long before the focus of our story, but not in the sense it was about to become. When EA decided to let the tribes split up, and many of them went eastward and ended up in Mu, EA, and a lot of enhanced humans, with the fire of the goddess, were heading westward and settled down on the Atlantic island where they eventually built cities of the special structure we are so used to see in pictures from that era. Later city constructions, such as Babylon, were built with similar architecture in mind. EA picked out his 10 favorite human hybrids and let them become kings over 10 different kingdoms, roughly spread out over the island area. Contrary to the Lemurians, who were left without an alien commander, the Atlanteans were ruled by kings, not by queens or shamans. They shamans, however, were instructed to build their own priesthoods, more correctly, priestesshoods, where they could dedicate themselves to shamanism. In Atlantis, EA later became known as Poseidon, in Greece, and Neptune, in Rome. The Syrians drew lots, and EA was given the Big Island to rule as a king. This was his domain, and he was the first and last king of kings of Atlantis. According to Plato's story, Poseidon, EA, took an additional wife, Cleito, who was a mortal human female. She bore him 5 sets of twins, whereof Atlas was the oldest and most powerful. The term Atlantis comes from the name Atlas. Poseidon promised Cleito to make Atlantis a royal paradise. So he built a city by the ocean and put a temple in the middle of the city. In addition, the legend goes, Poseidon cast down a gift from heaven, huge, beautiful crystal that he gave to the people. The people, because this crystal came from God, worshipped it, and it gave them longevity. I believe it did, but not in the way the legend tells us. The genetic engineering team used crystals and quartz in huge quantities when they created and manipulated life forms in their laboratories, and there were certainly labs in Atlantis. Still, Poseidon did give mankind longevity. In fact, he gave them longer lives than humans had ever had and would ever get up until our present day. They became semi-gods after had eaten both from the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. Plato said that according to the Egyptians, the northern parts of the Atlantean island consisted mostly of mountains, and so did the northern shorelines. In the south there was a great plain of an oblong shape. On the central island, where the main city and a palace were built, Poseidon and his human wife were to reside. Atlas, the eldest son, became king of the region around today's Atlas Mountains in the east, today's North and Northwestern Africa, where he was born. His other sons were all to rule over many men and a large territory. Poseidon carved the mountain where his love dwelt into a palace and enclosed it with 3 circular moats of increasing width, varying from 1 to 3 stadia and separated by rings of land proportional in size. The Atlanteans then built bridges northward from the mountain, making a route to the rest of the island. They dug a great canal to the sea, and alongside the bridges carved tunnels into the rings of rock so that ships could pass into the city around the mountain. They carved docks from the rock walls of the moats. Every passage to the city was guarded by gates and towers, and a wall surrounded each of the city's rings. The walls were constructed of red, white and black rock quarried from the moats, and were covered with brass, tin, and the precious metal orichalcum, respectively. So it seems Poseidon chose to build his palace in a mountain, apparently not foreign to Syrians, whose culture EA had adopted a lot of, and the city was created around it with canals extending to the ocean, which was Poseidon's true element. Today we hear quite a lot about UFOs being seen ascending from water, either big lakes or from the ocean. This makes a lot of sense, because there are many extraterrestrial bases under the ocean floor, protected and secure from snooping eyes.